Hello gamers, right, today we are going to give the Birdman some love. Since the Deep of Night has dropped, the Birdman has been neglected by a lot of people, and the ones that haven't neglected him are struggling. We're struggling really bad. Depth 4, well, Depth 3 and above for the Birdman is just hell. It's not a fun experience, so today we're going to give the Birdman some love. I've broken it down into a few different parts. Essentially, we're going to go over some important information about shield upgrading. We're going to give you the top 3 great shields for each each day 2 boss and their respective Night Lord. We're going to give you a few builds to help you through the Deep of Night, and we are going to give you some tips for the early game, because that is normally the most difficult part about the Birdman. It's getting through the early game. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's talk about shield upgrading. Now, in Nightreign, there are 3 different types of shield. You have your common shield, your uncommon shield, and your rare shield. Obviously, we're not going to count the legendary shield because you can't find a legendary shield. You can only upgrade to it, but we'll get into that, just bear with me. And we're not going to talk about the red Deep of Night shield, because once again, when you find one, you can't upgrade it. Once you pick it up, that's the stats you are stuck with. Now, when you pick up a shield, you can't see most of its stats. So you can't see its damage negation, you can't see its affinity damage negation, you can see its guard boost, and that's pretty much all you get to see, which I think needs to be changed. I think you should be able to click on the shield itself, and it should give you the detailed breakdown of what it's strong against. But obviously, for some reason, From Software aren't allowing us that. So this is why you need to memorize all of the shields, every single shield in the whole entire game. You need to memorize as a Birdman, as a flock, because you need to be doing this for the flock. I'm only joking. Obviously, you're not going to be able to remember every shield. That's why we're going to go through it, and we're going to give you the top 3 shields for each boss. So, shield upgrading. Common shields can be upgraded to uncommon. Uncommon shields can be upgraded to rare. Rare can be upgraded to legendary. Let's get into the stats.
Come on, man.
Now, this might get a little bit confusing, so feel free to pause, rewind, and, go over it again. It confused me when I was actually going through it because there's a lot of numbers that we need to talk about. But essentially, the Common Great Shield, when you upgrade it, it has 3 upgrade paths. Think of the paths as just a Smithing Stone, Somber Stone, and then the legendary Ascension table. So, for a Common to +1, you get a 17% increase in guard boost. From a common to +2, you get a 33% increase in guard boost. And then if you take your base and upgrade it to a legendary, you get a 44% increase in guard boost. Now for the uncommon great shield, so those are your blue shields. From base to +1, you get a 14% increase in guard boost. And then from base to legendary, you get a 23% increase in guard boost. And last but not least, upgrading a rare shield, so this is your purple shield, to a legendary, you get an 8% increase in guard boost. Now, unfortunately, only the guard boost and the base attack is actually upgraded when upgrading your weapon. So, you don't get a damage negation upgrade. So, if you've got a shield that has 66 fire damage negation, regardless of the upgrade, it's always just going to be 66 fire damage negation. Now, we know that because if I open Smithbox and take a look, I can show you here that you've got your base attack multipliers when upgrading the shield. But as you can see there, the guard absorption, which is the absorption, the damage negation rate of the element that you're choosing, like the guard boost or the fire or lightning, as you can see, that doesn't change. Right, probably the reason why you're all here, which is the best great shield for the Night Lord and its day 2 boss. Let's get into it. We're going to start with Gladius. Now, the reason I'm throwing the day 2 bosses in with it, because it's really important that you prepare for both. For example, the red main great shield is an exceptional shield against fire damage. But guess what happens if you take the red main shield to fight Gladius? You're going to do very well against Gladius. You're not going to do very well against both of the day 2 bosses that you fight before Gladius, the Tree Sentinel and Morgoth, because they both deal lots of holy damage. The red main great shield has very poor holy damage negation. So, my top 3 picks for Gladius, taking into account that you're going to fight 2 holy bosses just before him, are, in no particular order, the Crossed Tree Tower Shield. It has 66 fire negation, 66 holy negation, and an 82 guard boost. Then we have the Gilded Great Shield, which has a 65 fire negation, a 64 holy negation, and an 82 guard boost. Then we have the Dragon Tower Shield, which has a 66 fire negation, a 62 holy negation, and an 83 guard boost. Shields that I would avoid would be obviously anything wooden, because, well, wood burns. The Red Mane Great Shield, the Visage Great Shield both have very good fire negation, but they both have very terrible holy negation. Ant Skull, Erdtree, and Lordsorn, Wooden, Great Shield all have the lowest fire negation, so make sure you avoid these. Next up we have Adal. Luckily Adal and pretty much all of his day 2 bosses are lightning focused, except the Crucible Knight, which obviously does holy damage, so we can actually just look for mostly lightning with a little bit of holy damage negation. So my top 3 choices are, now number 1 would be the Dragonclaw shield. Now be careful with this because it has an insanely high lightning negation with a lightning negation of 80, but it has a really low holy negation of only 50. If you come against the Crucible Knight and you get hit with one of his holy attacks, you're going to take a lot of damage. Now, most of the time, you're probably going to avoid the holy attacks by rolling, even with the Guardian, believe it or not. So, it's always a good choice to take this shield because of how high the lightning negation is. It also has a guard boost of 80, which means you're going to be okay guarding a lot of attacks. The next 2 would be the Ant Skull, which has a 64 lightning negation, 64 holy negation, and a 78 guard boost. And then we have the Icon Shield, which has a 63 lightning negation and a 60 holy negation. Also has an 81 guard boost, which is quite high. I would avoid the Guardian's Great Shield because it's very bad against lightning, like literally one of the worst. Also avoid the Jellyfish Shield and the Haligtree Crest Shield. Both have a really low lightning negation of 50. Next up we've got Nosta, and it's probably one of the worst bosses you can get for the Guardian because you have 3 elements that you essentially have to look for. You've got Magic, which is Nosta, I believe he deals magic damage. Then you've got the Lightning from the Dragonkin, and also Fire from the Great Worm. Although you should never really be in a position where the fire of the Great Worm is actually touching you. So mostly you want to look for Lightning and Magic negation overall. So top pick is going to be the Ant Skull with 64 lightning negation and a 64 magic negation. Also has a really good guard boost of 78, but it has a really low fire negation of only 48. So if you're fighting the Magma Worm, do not block the fire because you will burn. Again, Briar's Great Shield has a magic negation of 62, lightning negation of 62, also a really low fire negation because it's wood, and then you have a guard boost of 78, which is obviously really good. Then again, we've got the Icon Great Shield, which has a magic negation of 61, lightning negation of 63, also a really low fire negation. Shields to avoid are going to be the Guardian's Great Shield, the Haligtree Crest Great Shield, the Cross Tree Tower Shield, One-Eyed Shield, and the Red Mane Great Shield, because all of those do poorly against pretty much all of the elements we're looking for. Next up, we've got Maris. Now, I believe he deals magic damage, so it's pretty much the same as Nosta. You're looking for magic, fire, and holy, because you can fight the Falling Star Beast, the Tree Sentinel, and the Godskin duo. So my picks for this would be the Distinguished Great Shield, 64 magic negation, 62 fire negation, and a 60 holy negation with a guard boost of 80. So this is going to be your top choice. Then we've got the Cuckoo Great Shield. Now the Cuckoo Great Shield is one of the best magic negating shields in the game. It has a 71 magic negation, a 61 holy negation, but it has a really low fire negation of only 56. A guard boost is 80. So if you get the Godskin duo, just use his super awesome dodge and roll all the fire. Then we've got the Golden Beast Crest Shield, has a 62 magic negation, fire and holy, and it also has a guard boost of 78. Now, if you know you're not going to be fighting the Godskin duo, whether you know from the day 1 boss or whatever, you can use the Erdtree Great Shield, and it's probably the best choice because it has a 67 magic negation and a 77 holy negation, but it has a really low fire negation of 50. So avoid any fire, basically. And obviously bonus points if you use the Ash of Water fire, the magic sleep beams back at Maris. I'm not sure if that actually works. Next, we've got everyone's favourite boss, the goat of balance, Mr. Libra. Now, obviously, Libra will shoot madness at you, but the madness is actually fire damage. Now, I don't think you should be blocking the madness beams because it'll turn you mad, and you can't really block them. So whether you want to aim for a fire negating shield or just the best shield with guard boost is kind of up to you. But I will give you the shield that's going to be best for all of the elements, and that is going to be the Crossed Tree Tower Shield. It has a 66 fire negation, 66 holy negation, and an 82 guard boost. Then we've got the Gilded Great Shield, which has a 65 fire negation, 64 holy negation, and 82 guard boost. Then we've got the Dragon Tower Shield, which has a 66 fire negation, 62 holy negation, and an 83 guard boost. Now, his day 2 bosses are the Deathrite Bird, so it's already GG, just close the app, try again next time. The Godskin duo, which deals fire, and then the Crucible Knight. So really, you want to be looking for fire and holy. Next up on the list, we have Fulgor. Now, realistically, you probably need to be preparing more for the Nameless King than you do for Fulgor, because the Nameless King in the Deep of Night Depth 3 and above is just ridiculous. It's stupid. It's way overpowered. You are literally one shot. Doesn't matter which character you are. So even with damage negation stuff on, you're going to get 1 or 2 shots. So you realistically want to be looking for a very good lightning negating shield. Now for full gore, if you have the space, I would suggest bringing 2 shields, because there isn't really a shield that has very high lightning negation that also has good holy negation. Also the same vice versa. But nevertheless, my top 3 picks are going to be the Ant Skull, which is going to be my top pick because it has a 64 lightning negation and a 64 holy negation. Also has a 78 guard boost. This would be my number 1 choice. Then we've got the Lordsorn Great Shield, which has a 63 lightning negation, 63 holy negation, and a 78 guard boost. Then we've got the Briar's Great Shield, which has a 62 holy negation, 62 lightning negation, and a 78 guard boost. Now, against Nameless King, Dragonclaw is going to be your best shield because it has an 80 lightning negation. And against Holy, obviously the best shield is going to be the Erdtree shield, but do not use this against Lightning because it only has a 48 lightning negation, which means you are not going to be able to block anything that the Nameless King, the Dragon King, or the Outland Commander fires at you, because they all deal lightning damage. Next up, we have Caligo. Now, honestly, if you're fighting Caligo as the Burb, you might as well just close the game. Unless you're fighting in trios, and it's a little bit easier. But if you're doing Caligo solo, you are going to have a hell of a time, because Caligo is mostly just Frost. Now, I don't think Caligo has a specific element other than Frost. Obviously, that's a status. So you can't really defend against anything that she does. So you just want to look for a really good physical shield, I guess, which, you know, the best guard boost. But that being said, the best choices for Caligo and the Day 2 bosses, which are going to be the Dancer, the Draconic Tree Sentinel, and the Godskin Duo. So, realistically, you want to be looking for Fire, Magic, and Lightning. Now, again, realistically, you want a really good fire negating shield, because if you get the Dancer and she does that really stupid spinny move, it's GG if you don't have a decent lightning shield. Realistically, you want to be running away from it anyway, but if you want to take 2 shields, do 1 for the Dancer and then 1 for Caligo, I would suggest taking the Redmane shield because it has a really high fire negation. But my top 3 picks overall, taken into all elements that you're going to be facing, they would be, the first one would be the Fingerprint Shield, if you can get your hands on it. That's a 59 magic negation, 62 fire negation, 61 lightning negation, and a guard boost of 82. The Distinguished Shield has a 64 magic negation, 62 fire negation, but it has a low 54 lightning negation. Also has a guard boost of 80. And then the Jellyfish Shield isn't a bad choice with 65 magic negation and fire negation, but with a low lightning negation. So if you have either of those shields and you are fighting the Draconic Tree Sentinel, try to avoid any lightning. Roll it, don't block it. But yeah, those would be my top 3 choices. Now, there isn't really any shields to avoid for Caligo because, again, you're only really blocking her physical. You don't really want to be trying to block the Frost because you will just take a shitload of damage. So I would mostly avoid any really bad fire negation shields, because if you fight the Dancer and you've got a shield that's terrible against fire, it's probably going to be GG, good night. Last but not least, we have the Man of Night himself, Hjolster. Now again, Hjolster's a difficult one because you have the chance to fight pretty much every Day 2 boss. I think you actually might fight all Day 2 bosses randomly. And also his element's changing, so you need to have a shield that's pretty much good at everything. So my top 3 choices for that would be, number 1, Briar's Great Shield. It has not the best defenses against all the elements, but it has good defenses against every element. And it also has a guard boost of 78, which means you'll be able to block a lot of attacks without your stamina being absolutely destroyed. Next pick is going to be the Golden Beast Crest Shield. It has a fire, magic, and holy negation of 62 with a 78 guard boost, so it's a very good choice. And finally, we have the Lordsorn Shield, which also has pretty good damage negation against every element and a guard boost of 78. It has a magic negation of 62, fire negation of 52, 63 lightning negation, and a 63 holy negation. So it covers all the elements pretty well. Now, I think Hjolster does mostly magic damage, so if you wanted a shield that was purely there for Hjolster, then I think the best shield you can get is actually the Eclipse Crest Great Shield. It has a magic negation of 73 and also a very high guard boost of 81. But unfortunately, it lacks in pretty much every other area for every other element, so it's not really a good choice, especially if you get the lightning version of Hjolster. Now, obviously, I've tried to pick out all the best shields that cover all of the elements fairly well, so you don't get to the end boss, realise that the Day 2 boss is just going to one-shot you because you have a less than 50 negation against that element. So I've tried my best to pick out the shields that would work best for all situations. Now, for the Deep of Night, realistically, the most important things you want to be looking for are the damage negation at full HP. Depending on your character, you want successive attacks give you damage negation. And yeah, anything that just boosts damage negation when taking damage. Those are really going to be the things that save you. But just for some extra info, I will give you the best shield for each specific element. So for magic, we have the Eclipse Great Shield that has a 73 magic negation, also has an 81 guard boost. For fire, we have the Red Main Great Shield, which has a 73 fire negation and an 80 guard boost. For lightning, we have the Dragon Claw Shield, which has a 80 lightning negation with an 80 guard boost. And finally, we have the Erdtree Great Shield with a 77 holy negation and an 81 guard boost. So those are the 4 shields that are best against the 4 elements. Now, unfortunately, there isn't really one shield that's the best in the game. There's a few that do the job pretty well, and my choices for those would be the Distinguished Great Shield, Briar's Great Shield, and the Lord's Thorn Shield. All 3 of these have really good defenses against every element and really decent guard boost, so they will do the job pretty much every run. Right, that is all of the shield information out of the way. Hopefully you've taken something from that. Hopefully it gives you a bit of an idea what the best shields are to use against, you know, each boss. Now, I'll just run you through a few of my builds that I use with the Guardian. I've used these all the way out to depth 4. Haven't used the Guardian depth 5 because, honestly, he's hell in depth 4. I don't think he's viable in depth 5. Maybe a better gamer than me can probably do it. But yeah, for me, depth 5 and the Guardian is just a no-go. Even depth 4 really is a no-go for the Guardian. Even when you're blocking elemental damage, if you block like the Nameless King elemental damage, you are going to be taking 50% of your health because of how much the elemental, well, how much the damage in general is just scaled up. So yeah, the Guardian in depth 4, I would avoid, honestly. I would just play a different character. But nevertheless, these are my Guardian builds that I use commonly all the time, and they do carry you through the game. So the main one is going to be essentially adding the new strength and dexterity relic in, and then just turning it into a guard counter build. Obviously, you want to play around the shield and guard counters. That's where the Guardian is going to be most useful. So instead of me just giving you a few different builds for you to copy, what I'll do is I'll explain a few of the relic buffs you can put on him and why they're very useful. Now, obviously, this is going to vary whether you're playing solos or trios. A must-have relic for the Guardian in trios is the slowly restores nearby allies HP while the art is active, and also the character skill boost damage negation. That's going to give you a 15%, sorry, it's going to give all of your teammates, I think it's a 15% boost in damage negation when you use the new skill that you get from the Deep of Night. And obviously, the slowly restores allies HP when you use his ultimate ability. When you hold it, that area you're in is going to heal all of your allies for as long as you're healing it. Sorry, for as long as you're holding it. But yeah, playing solos and trios, you really want to be playing around guard counters. That's going to be where you're going to get the most benefit from the Guardian. So anything that has improved guard counters on. The improved guard counters, the base one, so the 0, I guess we can call it, that stacks across the board. So you could wear 6 of them and you would get a 6 times guard counter boost. +1 and +2, they stack with each other, but they don't stack with themselves. So you can't have 3 guard counter +1s. Now, in terms of numbers, the base one, so the improved guard counters, you get a 15% damage boost when using this one. For guard counter +1, you get a 22% damage boost. And then for the guard counter +2, you get a 26% damage boost. So it is worth having all 3, and it is worth putting as many improved guard counters on that you can fit in your build. Obviously, don't just put them on and, you know, you're missing out on other stuff like extra vigor and stuff like that, because the 15% damage boost in the Deep of Night isn't going to be as beneficial as a, let's say, an increased HP. So choose like HP and survivability over damage, because, you know, the Guardian is great at surviving, and that's what you want to be doing. You want to be surviving, bringing your teammates back, and obviously doing damage where you can. For his new relic, where you get extra strength and dexterity, essentially you lose 8 vigor, and it increases your strength by 9 and your dexterity by 19. Basically, from what I've heard, I haven't actually looked deep into it, but it gives you pretty much the same stats as Wilder. So it is definitely worth having, and it will be, you know, it will help you put a lot more damage out for the Guardian. Now, the rest of the relics that you really want to be using are just things that are going to help you survive the Deep of Night, especially early game, because early game is really the most difficult for the Guardian. Until you've got like a decent shield or upgraded your shield and found a decent weapon, you are going to have a tough time. So it's all about survivability. So you want to be using relics that help you survive, like damage negation, stuff like that. HP restoration on successful guards. So anything really that's going to help you survive. Now, a few more relics that are really beneficial for the guard is taking attacks improves attack power, because you'll be taking a lot of elemental damage when blocking. Even when using the steel guard, you're still going to be taking elemental damage. So that gives you a default 10% every time you block, basically. And another one that has great synergy with the Guardian is stamina recovery upon landing attacks. Now, essentially, if you use both the stamina recovery and the stamina recovery +1, you get an extra 5 stamina recovery every time you block. And even when using the steel guard, the shockwave you get from the steel guard will build your stamina back up. So when you're dealing with like long combos, you're actually going to be gaining stamina as well as, you know, being able to put out damage. So for me, those two relics are must-haves if you can fit them in the build. Obviously, don't base your build around them, because you realistically want to be looking for survivability, vigor, and guard counters if you can. Anything else that you can fit on top is going to be a bonus. Last but not least, we are going to run through just a few tips that are going to help you get through the early game with Guardian, because that appears to be the most difficult part you'll have. Obviously, if you get to the final day 2 boss or the Night Lord and you've got 0 equipment ready for them, you are going to have a hell of a time. But just getting through the early game is always the most difficult part, I think. So here are a few tips that I think are going to help you with the Guardian just to get through the early game. Now, obviously, I'm talking about the Deep of Night. I'm not talking about the base game. Base game with the Guardian, pretty much no one's going to give you any problems. Not if you know how to use him efficiently. But yeah, so for the Deep of Night, my first tip is going to be take out the trash mobs. Always take out the trash mobs, because you're going to go and fight that golem. You're going to take 5 minutes fighting the golem. You're going to get, what, 5,600 runes? You can kill 4 soldiers in half the time of that, and you're going to get the same amount of runes. So take out the trash mobs, use his skill, put them all in one place, do a big charged R2, and you're going to take out most mobs in one hit. This is just a really efficient way to get your level up very quickly. So make sure you're doing it. Take out the trash mobs. Just get to level 5, level 6, then go and fight a decent boss and start getting your runes and getting your weapons that way. Tip number 2. At your earliest convenience, go straight to a cave and get yourself a smithing stone 2. Get that shield to a purple. Doesn't matter what shield it is, just get it to purple. That is going to carry you for the early game. Most of the time, the reason why your stamina is being depleted against these more difficult red enemies is because they do a shitload of stamina damage and you have a very weak shield. So, at your earliest convenience, make sure it is convenient. Don't run across the map to get the stone. Get yourself a smithing stone 2. Get that shield to purple. Tip number 3. Use the consumables. There's a reason why there's a shitload of boxes all over the place with a load of consumables in them. Take the fire pots, take the lightning pots, take the crabs, use them, pop them, use them as much as you can, because they are there to help you, and they will help you in the early game. It will stop you from getting one shot. It will take out a group of enemies that you're going to lose all your stamina to, and you're just going to get pulverized by them. So use the consumables that you find around you. Tip number 4. Don't hoard that ultimate ability. If it's there, use it. Go! Just fly into the air, take out the group of enemies. Don't hoard your ultimate ability. Tip number 5. Pick your battles. If you are level 5 and you're by a Deathrite bird, you know there's a good chance you're probably not going to win that fight. So, look for the enemies that are best suited to the Guardian. Look for enemies that are easy to stagger, like the Black Knight Assassin. When you use the shockwaves on his shields, that will stagger him every time, and it's enough to get a uncharged guard counter off. So, tip number 5, pick your battles. The final tip, really, what I think is a pretty important one, is don't be afraid to explore. Now, I see a lot of people playing the Guardian, they run past chests, and a lot of the time, these chests are going to be what give you your shields. Now, the shields are obviously really important for the Guardian, so don't be afraid to do a little bit of exploring. It takes less than a second to open that chest, and it could potentially be a run-saving shield in there. So, don't be afraid to do a little bit of exploring. Gamers, that's pretty much all I got to say about the Guardian. Hopefully you learned something from this video. I have played the Guardian for probably, you know, well into 100, maybe 200 hours now. I understand pretty much everything about him. I understand he still needs massive buffs. Even with his new strength relic, it just, yeah, there's depth 4, depth 5, he's just not viable. Obviously, you can win in depth 4 and depth 5, but you are going to have a hell time compared to a lot of the other characters, which Nightreign has always been very balanced. So the fact that you can't use certain characters in certain scenarios now just shows that, you know, there still needs to be a little bit of balancing that's going to help the people that love these characters, like I really enjoy playing the Guardian. You know, it gives them an opportunity to still be able to use them. Obviously, if there's something important I've missed which is going to be really beneficial for someone, maybe someone learning the Guardian, then please feel free to drop it in the comments. No, obviously there's no wrong answers, there's no wrong tips to be playing these characters. Every tip is going to help you in some way. So if you have any hidden nuggets of information that, you know, someone might be able to learn from, please drop it in the comments. As always, if you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Stay safe, big love, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.